Greetings, greetings, scholars, and welcome to week 3 of BMG 230 online. Let's see where we stand and where we're going. So, at the end of week 2, we are currently at 235 points. You should always know how you are performing in the class. So, you want to go into Blackboard, into the Grade Center, look at your total, and divide that against 235 so you know what your current grade is. If you have completed any assignments from week 3, deduct those points from your total so you have an accurate depiction of what your grade is. Speaking of last week, our discussion board post versus the ethics versus networking decision. Really good responses. Just one follow-up question, just something for you to think about. A lot of people said that there is nothing unethical about hiring a friend as long as you do your due diligence and seek out other comparisons to make sure it is a great offer. And I agree with that. I don't think that's unethical at all. But one thing I want you, would this make a difference? Would you disclose the relationship between you and your friend with your directors or higher ups? Would you let them know that this is a personal friend of yours, or is that important? Just something to think about. Today, Thursday, March 26th, is the last day to withdraw from this class. I talked about dropping versus withdrawing last week. Again, if you are not sure, if you have some concerns, please reach out. My phone number is on syllabus. Send me an email. But today is today, so you need to do that today. So that way you can make the best decision for you. I will be sending out emails for those who I feel who are in danger and just reaching out just to see, so definitely check your emails. Looking ahead, we have chapters 5 and 6 this week. We have another application-based activity, and then your first test. So your study guide is available in the week 3 folder for test 1. I strongly recommend that you use them. I make the study guide after I make the test, so it is fairly accurate. It does not, it's not a full, it doesn't cover everything, but it's a very good guide. Again, hint hint, you should use it. All right, let's look at chapters 5 and 6 and what we're going to be learning about this week. Greetings. Chapter 5 is all about decision making, so we're looking at planning and how to best make decisions for your organization. So, what is planning? The conscious, systematic process of making decisions about goals and activities that an individual, group, work unit, or organization will pursue in the future. So you'll see the steps listed here on the right. I'm going to touch on a few of those. I'm not going to go into all of them in more detail, but as you read, you will continue to see what each level entails. Oops. Sorry. So the actions or means managers intend to use to achieve organizational goals. Many different types of plans. This is breaking down 3 different ones: a single use versus standing versus a contingency plan. One thing I want to highlight with the contingency plan is that this is planning for the unknown. Typically, you're planning for things that are happening that are beyond your control. So externally from your organization, you're trying to consider what things have an impact, and then what can you do if the worst case scenario happens. For instance, they're listing California, several years of below average rainfall, develop a drought contingency plan. They can't control the weather. However, they're paying attention to this and they're seeing how this affects their organization. And they're thinking, well, if this continues, what can we do to best position ourselves for success? Looking at the steps for planning, one thing I want to definitely highlight is under step 2 with the goals. Targets and ends that managers want to reach. The goals should be SMART. So what does that mean? SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and also time bound. This is really important because when it comes time to set goals for your group, your organization, the company, you want to be specific as possible. You don't want to have vague goals that are left to interpretation, that are vague, that don't give clear direction. So when the goals are specific, employees know what they need to do to accomplish them. They also want to be measurable, so you want to quantify the desired results. Attainable, so are we actually working towards something we can accomplish? Why are we doing this? Is this part of our mission? What's the purpose of this? So that's the relevant. And then time bound also gives us a date in mind, so we can quantify that as well. We want to make sure that we are working towards this in a desired time frame and accomplish it as planned. I was mentioning that again, many different ways or subsets to the planning. So here's another one of those three different levels of planning: strategic, tactical, and operational. So this is just kind of breaking down who is focusing on which level of plans and what are they trying to do. Like, is this short range? That is the operational. This is the day to day. This is a year or less. Tactical, so this is the mid ground, so 1 year to 3 years, it varies. But also your strategic, so your top level managers, they're not necessarily looking at the day to day. They're more focused on the future. How do we look in the next 3 to 5 years? What goals are we trying to accomplish? And what else can we do to ensure that our operational and tactical plans help us get to where we're trying to be? So the rest of this chapter is going to look at the additional steps that we looked at on the first slide there, but also benchmarking. You're going to read about that. So this is the method of comparing yourself to other organizations. It's a way to establish best practices. How are we in compared to our competitors? How are we performing? What are we looking at? Are we performing at the same levels? How can we best utilize our resources to accomplish our goals? Let's take a look at chapter 6, which is about entrepreneurship. So when just thinking about entrepreneurship, the term entrepreneurship is synonymous with risk. Anytime you're thinking about pursuing an entrepreneurial venture, you have to always consider the risk that's involved with that. So formally defined, entrepreneurship is the process by which enterprising individuals initiate, manage, and assume the risk and rewards associated with a business venture. Risk and rewards. You're going to see those terms come up a lot in this chapter. The risk and rewards associated with being an entrepreneur. What are you risking? Your time, one of the most important things. Your money may be equally important. Your energy, your expertise, and you're doing this without no guarantee of a reward. So just something to keep in mind. So it's going to talk about how can you best plan if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur. What can you do to help ensure your success? So who is that entrepreneur? As you can see here at the top right, this person is high in creativity and innovation. So that's where this idea came from, this service, this product. But they're also high in being that manager or administrator, to ensure that the proper steps are taking place. You may not be high on both. Maybe you are the creative type, but it is necessary that you find that partner or that group of people who can help you manage yourself, essentially manage your goals, manage your plan. And maybe you are that high level manager who is great at seeing things through, project manager who is great at seeing things through to fruition and completion. So partnering with an entrepreneur who has that creativity, that vision to take you to the next level could be a great business venture. So what does it take? A lot of different things, but just trying to group them into some small categories here. Commitment. This is your plan. This is your goal. If you're not committed to it and determined to see it come to fruition, then who is going to be committed to it? Opportunity obsession, meaning you're not just satisfied with the status quo. You're not satisfied with it making it mediocre. You are so obsessed with this succeeding and taking it as high as it can go. So you're consistently working towards it getting there. The tolerance of risk, ambiguity. If you have a low tolerance for risk, then entrepreneurship may not be for you, because you're working in this ever-changing field, this unknown. So you have to have a high tolerance towards risk if that's what you're choosing to do. Ambiguity, you don't know what's taking place. Who knows what's going to happen next? You can plan, but as we said before in chapter 5, with that contingency, you also have to think about the things that you can't control and how are you going to respond if the unfortunate happens. Self-reliance, creativity, ability to adapt, but most importantly, or one of the most important things, is the motivation to excel. It is hard, it's difficult, so you have to be motivated to see your dreams being brought to life. A few things to consider in your planning, while you're planning. Who is this affecting? The people, potential employees. What is that opportunity? How can you capitalize on it? What are your competitors doing? What's already there in the marketplace? What are they doing well? What are they doing not so well? How do you fit within this existing environment? The context of your plan, your idea, And then here we are again with the risk and reward. So you should certainly be paying attention to these things and seeing, is this worth the effort that you're getting ready to put forth to it? Is this already being done? Who is impacted by my decision making, etc. So a few things to think about for our future entrepreneurs and our existing entrepreneurs. We got a pretty diverse class as far as our work history. So have a great week